Jim Comparoni, Josh Helmholdt, Midwest recruiting analyst, Rivals.com. You recognize him. Good to have some time here with you at the Columbus Rivals Camp Series. Challenging weather today, but we saw some guys show some toughness. Jordan Reed today came inside, was battling pretty good offensive lineman from Detroit Cass Tech, took a shot to the nose, went out with a trainer, not very long, wanted to get back in as soon as he could. I mean, that guy showed some, we know about the frame and skill, but you get a read on someone's toughness in a situation like this. Not only the weather, but Jordan Reed today taking a shot at the nose.
When you look at an offensive lineman, you want that intensity. You want that guy who's going to be able to battle in the trenches. And we saw, like you said, we saw that with Jordan Reed today. His strength obviously stands out. When we saw him last year, and even when I saw him in the fall, obviously covered Cass Tech, pretty extensively, he was limited, and what we saw today was a greater range of ability. He was able to not just get that initial punch in, but to lock on and move his feet, and those were things we didn't see before. So we're seeing a progression with his game. He was definitely one of those offensive linemen in contention for an MVP award today.
And he was at the Rivals Camp Series last year as an underclassman. You're seeing him grow into his frame a little bit more. And vocal. I didn't know he was as vocal as he is. He shows some leadership out here too, which coaches will see in other places if he goes to their camp and so forth. But these are things that you don't know till you come to a camp like this. You see someone blossom, and Jordan seems to be heading in the right direction. I spoke with him a little bit. Michigan State's very much interested. What's your read on his recruiting at this point? I know Michigan's in there. It's still somewhat early, but what you got any thoughts on his recruitment at this point?
He's getting some SEC looks. I mean, he's got Tennessee offer and a couple other schools. So, a lot of these Cass Tech guys tend to take it out a little bit longer when they have a recruitment that looks like Jordan. So I think, especially with Donovan Peoples-Jones planning on taking his recruitment out late, you've got Donovan Johnson, another 4-star there. I think a lot of these guys are probably going to wait through the spring and summer and maybe into the fall before they make their decisions.
Donovan Peoples-Jones, one of the top wide receivers in the country. I think you'd agree with that. Today, challenging conditions. I didn't get a chance to watch him specifically. What were your thoughts on him and how did he do today?
He looked every bit the 5-star. So not only was it 30 degrees and snowing outside, but it was a 15 to 20 mile per hour wind, and he caught the ball beautifully, and that's tough to do in those situations. So very impressed with Peoples-Jones. We always have been. There's just no letdown in his game. He has one of the best work ethics, and that plays out in his performances out here at a camp like this.
And he was invited to the 5-star, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and he received that invitation today, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
right?
correct.
And KJ Hamler was MVP of the wide receivers today. He's been good at a lot of these camps over the years, and another guy that keeps maturing before our eyes. He's always had that juice, and he just keeps getting a little bit better. Your thoughts on him today?
Yeah, I was talking with him after he won the MVP award, and he nearly won the MVP award last year at this thing. Actually, Peoples-Jones won it, and that was with Donnie Corley and all those guys, all that big-time talent there. So KJ Hamler, very legitimate win today because there was such good wide receiver talent. Not only Peoples-Jones, you had Ohio State commit Brendan White was here. He was outstanding. Julian Barnett, who's a freshman at Belleville High School in Michigan, is going to be maybe the next Donovan Peoples-Jones. He was great today. But Hamler is so explosive. Just in a setting like this, there isn't a defensive back that can handle him.
Because they're on an island, they don't have help from anybody. You have to have help in the defensive backfield. The kid from Belleville, what did you see about him? I'm not familiar with him.
He is. I'll tell you what, we saw him first, I think, in the camp back in maybe December. Julian Barnett, he's probably already 6'2", 185. He is so smooth. He goes up and gets the football. He's going to be a big timer and already starting to get college looks as a freshman. Definitely a guy you got to watch. He's going to be, like I said, he could be the next Peoples-Jones.
Great continuation of wide receiver talent in the Great Lakes area, especially the state of Michigan. It's been an uptick. We've been doing this for about 20 years. It just seems like for some reason wide receivers right now are really cropping up. Tight end wide receiver from Cincinnati Moeller, Dotson. Today I was speaking with him. He thought this, when we talked about this a little bit, this weather is like championship weather. This is when championships are won in weather like this. Usually it's November, but you've been covering him, and Michigan State's been very much interested in him. And when I got out of the field, you're like, Dotson's been making some plays today. What did you see from him today?
What you want to see from a tight end is he can get separation from a linebacker or a safety, and that's what Matt Dotson does in a 6'4", 6'5" frame. Great set of hands. I'll tell you, win like this, a quarterback had, he ran a wheel route. Quarterback had put it up in the air. The wind caught it and just took it further than the quarterback intended it to. Dotson still ran under it and caught it. That shows he's came off an arm injury last year and has really returned strong from that, stronger than he was before. Great set of hands, and he's a guy that can separate at that tight end position.
And Michigan State's been busy down there with the private schools in the Cincinnati area. That's another one that they're in on for sure. Hamler, by the way, I spoke with him a little bit. The most recent thing he's been hearing from Michigan State is they like him position-wise to fill in to what R.J. Shelton has been doing over the years, and R.J.'s going to be moving on after next fall, so that's what KJ's been hearing.
You have to like Michigan State's chances with Hamler. Dotson will be up at Michigan State next weekend, so obviously a lot of the guys that are looking at Michigan State definitely had strong days today.
And one more, Mullins, the big kid. Purdue offered recently. He has some other interesting offers. I think Pittsburgh, West Virginia, and some others. Michigan State's looking closely at him. Big guy. You get a teenager with that kind of mass. Another guy that sometimes they have to work around that weight and grow into it. But just throughout the course of today, I was speaking with Coach Hamilton, the defensive line coach here, and he saw some progress in him just while he was here. What did you think about Mullins?
Yeah, he's 6'4", he's 325 pounds, Columbus DeSales High School, and he was the defensive line MVP winner today. And again, deservedly so. It's a deep defensive line group, but I've watched him even just over the last few months. So I'm at Best of Midwest camp. Obviously, we had him here. His progress is just in learning to dominate. He has the physical skill set to do that, and he's starting to understand that there are just not many offensive linemen that can handle his combination of strength and quickness.
And you picture him as he turns 19, 20, 21, and that weight gets redistributed. There's just not a lot of guys on the planet that can bring what he can bring as a teenager to an event like this. And it was a lot of fun to watch him here at the Rivals Camp Series. Anything else, Josh?
It was, like I said, kids overcame the elements. I think that showed a lot of the toughness of this Midwest group.
Yeah, all right. Josh Helmholdt, Jim Comparoni, been watching the VCast, SpartanMag.com.